Hello and welcome back to the Nitro RX podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Thiemo Daily, and I am joined, as always, by my trusty co-host, Nabila. How are you doing today?
I am doing well, thank you. And how about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Surviving, like I was saying there. Yeah, very much looking forward to getting into a new episode. And as we're deep into the off season, we keep thinking it's perfect time to chat with some drivers and some personnel from around the world of Nitrocross. And today is no different because we are joined by next driver Eric Gordon. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Perfect. Like to hear it, short and sweet, get straight to the point. Question we'd like to ask everyone to kick things off, especially as Nitrocross. I feel like there's such a wide variety of drivers in here. We never quite know where we're going to get the origin stories from. What was it that first got you interested in motorsport?
The motorsports in general. So, I mean, I guess I grew up kind of in the automotive industry. My family all had garages, mechanics. They were auto dealerships, all that fun stuff. So I kind of grew up as a wrenching on things, taking stuff apart pretty much like every little boy does, I guess. Learn how to put it back together. And then I kind of being in the automotive industry, I kind of started to do the performance end. At the time I was just interested in working on things, I guess. But by going to the track all the time and doing all that stuff, I kind of just took a liking for for driving, competing, things like that. And probably like most people, I always kind of got addicted to go-karts, I guess. It sounds like where most people go with this, but so from there it was just kind of got in the go-kart scene. I really didn't do any racing go-kart wise, at a young age. It was just kind of like I found a love for driving and and found that was my spot. That was my piece. That's what I like to do, was follow motorsports. I tried to follow regular um I guess typical sports, like the football, baseball, basketball type deal, which I still competed in. I still liked it. Just wasn't my thing. I was always kind of more of a gearhead, so to speak.
Saying that you'd like to take things apart and kind of fix things as well. Were you kind of ever tempted to go more down that route with motorsport in terms of mechanics, engineering, that sort of thing? Or once you did get behind the wheel for the first time, you thought, nah, I'm going to do this instead?
Yeah, so that got old quick. I still enjoyed it. I mean, I guess when I first got into it, like the actual racing aspect of it, I kind of did it all myself. Like I was, I really didn't have a crew, so to speak. So, I was involved in the driving part of it, and I'd work on my stuff. Around here we kind of work till the wee hours in the morning and get it just enough to get it to the track, take it to the track and break it and bring it back home and fix it again. So I kind of stuck with that for a while. And then after, turning wrenches so long, you got to kind of take a step back and just focus on one or the other. So I still have a love for it. I still have a love for the technology behind it and the aspect of that. But, obviously driving is a lot more fun for
Yeah.
sure.
Where was your first race then?
Oh, my first actual race.
I said, jog the old memory there slightly.
Yeah. That was many moons ago. I would say my first actual car, like automotive race, I raced an enduro class on basically like an asphalt, a tarmac oval, I guess,
Okay.
which is local here. It's a place, it's called Jennerstown, PA, which is a small, um, local raceway, I guess. And they had a beater class pretty much. You can buy like a $500 car and, put a cage in and all this stuff. And I was like, that's me. I got that. So I did that one probably, I don't know, I was fairly young, but that was kind of my first little taste of it. So it evolved a lot from there.
Nice. So how does that segue into something like Nitrocross, going from the oval? Didn't think like maybe moving or pursuing racing side of things. You just prefer kind of the off-track vibe?
um, I guess your question is pretty much how it moved from
Yeah.
there
How
to
did you
this.
segue to
Oh boy,
Nitrocross? Like it's always super random. So we're kind of
it's very random.
loved how like people say, "Oh, I was in trying to race for Formula E and I ended up in Nitrocross." I was like, "That's quite the differentiation."
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, it goes from on it. So I guess my segue with it was like that was when I was younger. Insert life into there. That kind of like took a little bit of a gap. Um, I had kids in between there, so like I was still competing here and there, just not at a professional level at all. It was just kind of like, let's go racing type deal. Let's find something to race. And probably 2000 and I'm gonna say 15, 14 or 15 or so. A buddy of mine, we got involved in racing side by sides in the basically cross country series here is called GNCC. So we started racing side by sides in the woods. Found out we were pretty decent at that, and I was like, this is kind of cool. This is good. At the time it was like we pulled in with an open deck trailer and rolled it off and raced in the woods. And if we did great, it was awesome. If we did bad, we just put it back on the trailer and went home. Um, Probably 2 years into that, we became factory supported drivers for Can-Am for side by side to race short course. So we raced short course up in the Midwest for 3-4 years. Did a lot with Can-Am. We raced Ball Hall, all this, all kinds of off road stuff. Um, Honestly, I was, I felt I was getting a little bit not too old, but my body was getting too old to take that constant beating all the time. Like I messed my back up. I had surgery for my back, all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I got to quit. I have to quit jumping things. Like I wasn't into jumping things. I'm like, I got to quit, quit doing this. My love for motorsports was always revolved around rallycross, believe it or not, but it was never mainstream in America. So I was always following the overseas stuff. At the time when I decided I was going to get out and not sign my contract with Can-Am, that's when the other rallycross series was in America, which was ARX. When that year was like a kind of a pivotal, whatever that word is, a pivot year for me, I guess. I didn't sign my contract and I wanted to go rallycross racing because I'm like, you know what? They don't jump a lot. That was more me. That's something I always wanted to do. Get out of the side by side, get back into a car. Didn't sign my contract with Can-Am, and that year is when ARX folded, so there was no more rallycross. And I'm like, now what? So once again, I was on like a year break, and I basically I stayed in the off-road world. I just helped some buddies out race Pro 4 trucks, a bunch of short course stuff. And the whole time I'm talking crap that like, I'm going to get into rallycross. Whatever comes back, I'm getting in. And sure enough, we heard through the grapevine, Pastrana was starting Nitrocross, and 301 was all this stuff, and it happened. And I talked so much crap in this little interim that I had that I pretty much didn't have a choice. I didn't give myself a choice. I was like, you know what, I'm doing it. I emptied the piggy bank out a couple times and bought a rallycross car, obviously one of the lights cars. And I was at the time I was committed to literally just keeping in a one-man band again. Not a one-man band, but just myself, a couple buddies going out. We're going to race Nitro. We're going to have a blast, win, lose or draw. I didn't care. Like I was pretty much put myself into retirement type deal. And we had an absolute blast that first year. I mean, it was a total mess, chaos on our end. We had no clue. I'd never been in the car. We raced it. I had no clue what was going on. And we had a blast, and kind of too much fun because then I started talking to all my other racing buddies, and and I was getting them involved. Well, fast forward till now, we have 3 or 4 cars that we either own or manage on the team. So it went from let's go out and have some fun and not take this too serious to it's a business again. You know what I mean? And we're back in the seat. But that was kind of my transition. It was like hobby. Got pretty decent at something, got some factory backing, got sick of getting hurt, and laid up, and then decided to go with Nitro. But of course, as you watch Nitro, I'm back to jumping stuff just in a car. So not my
Well,
forte, but still here.
that's what I was gonna say there, just skipping ahead slightly there, just before I forget about it, because you're racing the next category, and obviously the Group E they do the big jumps. Like there's a couple of obviously in the nitro track. There's obviously on every course there's the little jumps that you get, but then you get the big gap jumps for Group E. Are you quite content with being in that next category because you don't want to end up in the situation you were in before with your back, and you're just very kind of aware of it in the back of your mind, and you're just very much enjoying that having fun aspect of it, and you kind of approaching it from a pure point of view, even though it's kind of snowballed slightly, like you say, in terms of you've gone from a small team to, oh dear, we kind of own quite a few cars and we're doing this a bit more seriously than I thought? Or what's kind of your approach and your thought process for that now?
to be in the nitro or to be in the next class, you mean? Is that kind of like
Yeah, are you content to stay there and enjoy that and get the maximum out of it, or are you looking at the Group E and going, maybe?
I honestly I get that question a lot. So um I guess I rewind that a little bit. When I first got into Nitro, there wasn't the Group E. It was still supercars and it was supercar lights or mixed, whatever you call it. Um, Part of it was the affordability of of the class that I'm in compared to at the time the supercar class. There was a huge money difference there. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to do this a little bit or dabble in it, I have to at least kind of learn the sport, make connections, do what you have to do just to kind of grow in the motorsport thing. Um, from there, obviously, that transferred. The supercars went away, Group E come about, um, and I was still content in the next cars. However, everybody brings up the gap jumps and the big jumps and whatnot. Um, the gap jump is, it's a showstopper. I mean, everybody loves the gap jump and whatnot. But if you, as a driver, as a somebody that understands the tracks and whatnot, uh, the next cars still do all the jumps with the exception of the gap jump, obviously. But the gap jump sometimes isn't the biggest jump on the track. It is mind blowing because of it's missing the earth in the middle of it. So, if you watch it though, it's not getting as much air or as much height as some of the other jumps. It just looks that way, which is awesome. I mean, that's what it's about. But
I'm getting suckered in by it, clearly.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Um, so but from a safety aspect, they didn't do it on the next side of it because of the caliber. Not saying the caliber, the discipline of the drivers, I guess, because it takes a lot of discipline not to bump over that thing, not to rub. There's a lot going on. It's full commitment. The other jumps, if you don't commit, which I've done before, you can kind of just lob it up there. But the gap, there's no going back. Once you hit the commitment line, you're going for it. So and not that I didn't have an interest in Group E. I still do. Every mid season, I kind of start going, maybe we should sell one or two of the cars and just buy a Group E car. And with having teammates, which are which I think you had on there before. I think you had Jimmy on there, which is one of my teammates, and Lane and whatnot. Those guys are so perfected at their craft that if I bought a Group E car, honestly, I'd probably have one of them race it because they're able to compete. I think at that level, because buying the car is one thing. Anybody can buy the car. Anybody can compete. But by the time I became up to speed to keep up with, them, as my talents are growing, so is everybody else's. So it would have been just a, let's go have fun kind of deal for me. And I'm like, well, if I want to buy a Group E car, you kind of have to compete and do your thing. So I talked myself into it and then back out of it pretty much every year. And now with the whole upgrade going on, I'll probably stick with that thing. Those cars are going to be pretty wicked. They're going to be pretty cool.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Maybe it'd be something that you save for when you decide to retire properly the second time, and you think I'll have a bit of fun on the way out. Perhaps something like that.
It's a proper send off or send it, I guess, so to speak. But yeah, it'd be a send off for sure.
Nice. So, with the kind of different things that you've done in your career, obviously you've gone from a little bit of track to the off-road Can-Am back to Nitro World. I am curious, actually. I'm going to segue in a different question because I'm just curious how the jumps work. So in rallying, when you hit some jumps, there could be some that were kind of like off camber. You would come at them on the right side over left. Like, are the jumps pretty like level? Have they been designed so that you're basically trying to do this for air, or are they designed so they could also be coming around a corner or something like that? Just as a driver's perspective, you kind of see it when you're watching it, but it's a completely
Right.
different mentality when you're approaching it as a driver, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. And honestly, over the course of the last, we'll call it 3 years with Nitro, they've kind of perfected that approach for us. One, I'm sure it's from a safety standpoint a little bit. But as a driver, it's more of a mind game, I guess, so to speak. Like they're designed to have you fly a certain way, a certain height, a certain distance, just by sheer design. And they had to basically tweak those jumps a lot because it has to fit the Group E class, it has to fit the next class, it has to fit the side by side. So there's a certain distance you can travel in those cars, and that's it. Like it was like there's a the backside of Utah this year. There was a big tabletop, and it was I think it was 90 foot long. Like the top was 90 foot long, and it was all that car had to clear that jump. I mean, it was like you couldn't think about it more than for a split second, you wouldn't clear it. So, but it was designed to be, it's going to shoot you long and high, but you're landing straight. You're hitting it straight. Um, I guess to kind of to get into your question, they're designed to be big showstoppers, but they're also designed to be somewhat safe and somewhat manageable for all the classes and all the drivers. But it takes a lot of experience doing it. I'm still not comfortable with it. It's because those cars are on the brink of disasters, most of the time, and it's not something you want to short land because they sit 3 inches, 4 inches from the ground, and it hurts. It puts a zinger in your back. Um, but no, they tend to keep them on the. I say safe. It's not safe to jump anything, but they keep them on the safer side because with no cars and no drivers, there was no show. So, but to transition in a corner, that's pretty much that's a commitment thing. I mean, there's some you make better time on if leave it kind of sideways a little bit, but the problem is in the air, you can't correct it as easily as you think it is. If you leave crooked, you're coming down even more crooked. So
And if you let go of the accelerator, you're coming down.
you're
No
coming down with the
stress.
nose.
So,
Yeah, and if you've watched enough of those cars, like we have to keep the gas pinned the whole time. If not, it just nose plants.
yeah.
Which is it sounds good, and stands I've watched them run before. I'm like, hey, they sound pretty cool, but yeah, you have to keep it pinned. Mine's kind of like just more of a nervous pin. It's just let it
I think
rip.
that's the best approach some days, though, to be honest.
What's that?
I think that's the best approach to take sometimes, though, is just scream and just go for it.
Oh, more. Yeah, you ask any driver, they're like more throttle. Just give it more throttle.
So
I
now,
wanted to,
segueing off of that, I was
sorry.
just going to say, like throughout your racing career, you've obviously done a ton of different things, but how do you think each different thing that you've done has helped you improve as a driver? And do you still find now competing in Nitro for a few years that you're still learning as you're going?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've learned more this year. I think that because I put more commitment into learning as opposed to just like I'm out there having fun. Um, all of them have definitely the culmination of all the racing definitely helped with Nitro because of the mixed the mixed surfaces you have. You have tarmac, you have dirt. So obviously the off-road background is fantastic for the dirt. So I'm comfortable with that. Like I'm comfortable sliding sideways. That doesn't bother me. That's fun. I wish I had more experience in the tarmac, the asphalt side of it, because all that racing was done, in my a lot younger years. So besides go karting, it really doesn't come back to me much. Vegas was a good example of that. It was mostly tarmac. So for me, it was just I'm like I was still driving like I was on dirt, which doesn't work. You kind of got to drive it like a go kart, um, but also, with that being said, it helps. Um, and sometimes I guess I want to have fun takes over, so it kind of ruins some of my races. I mean, I have a spot in my ear, like, dude, what, why are you throwing it in so hard? You're way on the outside. It looks cool, but it's slow. I'm like, but it's so much fun. So, because like I said, from being the background of having off road racing in dirt and whatnot, it doesn't bother me. Like I said, I'll throw that car in backwards. It doesn't, that doesn't bother me. It's the finesse of asphalt. I think that I missed through my racing career that really has car control with it, as opposed to just throwing it out there and see what happens.
Yeah, that's fair. I can see that. It's definitely quite the mix, and you're constantly changing surfaces, and it's like your brain can't keep up.
But yeah, it's definitely changes every lap. The cars are finicky. Those cars you have to run at the ringer the whole time, and they don't sound like it's proper inside. It's like you should shift, but you shouldn't shift. You just have to run it up top. But I'm learning. I mean, I learn every year. This year I made better progress. But once again, it goes back to as I'm making progress, you have some of the top drivers in that class that are also making progress. And
Mhm.
eventually, you catch up, and it all evens out a little bit. But um, I learn as much as I can. Um, I learn as much as I guess I want to learn. I mean, I want to do it daily. I want to race every day. life takes effect, and I wish I was in a race car every day, but I'm not. So, but definitely learning every single time on the track. So we're starting to get it a little bit better.
You've teed up my next question quite nicely for me because I was going to say you've been quite a constant in a field of quite fluid drivers in terms of who stays and who goes, since kind of Eric Gordon's always there. And I'm kind of intrigued if one driver in particular that's been a favorite for you to go up against, or if you've noticed someone that's come in just maybe like 1 or 2 rounds and like, oh, that was a lot of fun, or like, is there anyone that stood out to you? I mean, Casper seems like the obvious one, but if there's anyone aside from him potentially.
Right, right. Honestly, with Casper, I mean, my like I said, my other two teammates, Jimmy and Lane, they kind of tee up with him most of the time. I like his driving style, but the you can't take it away from Casper. And the kid has talent. I mean, he's also a young driver. So I turn on the self preservation mode, and he turns it off. So, um, so he's always that somebody's chasing. But I also chase my other two teammates down because when they come back into the paddock, we learn so much from each other because it's Jimmy's very talented, Lane's very talented. They both have different driving style, and I kind of fit right in the middle of both of them. Lane's more of an asphalt guy that's got a lot of technique and finesse. Jimmy coming from Pro 4 racing is used to just throwing it in there, which is the extreme of what I do. So I kind of fit in between there. So I like riding with that, or I guess racing with them. But it's also completely nerve wracking because that's my teammates. And as you see from Rallycross, you're always bumping and bruising each other. And I'm like, I can't, I haven't been able to pass that yet. Like, just, I didn't mean to hit you, man, and I don't
I'd
want to,
say it's
I don't want to,
usually the rule is don't hit your teammate, but in this it's kind of don't hit them too badly. Just kind of get used to hitting them a
yeah,
little bit.
that's exactly it. It's like if there's 4 or 5 of us on grid, 3 of the cars are mine and 2 are my teammates. I'm like, somebody's going to get hit somewhere, So, but as of lately, I guess the last 2 rounds, maybe 3 rounds, uh, David, I don't know how to say his last name, Stasic,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Stasic, uh, come out to race with us, and him and I are pretty much the same kind of speed, the same kind of style. And every time we're out racing, him and I have raced, side by side, bumper to bumper, super clean, or as clean, I guess, as it could be. So I really actually enjoy racing with him. Like I said, he's a super nice dude, very level headed. He isn't out there to ruin somebody's day either. So I feel comfortable racing with him. That like, if it happens, it happens. It wasn't on purpose. It wasn't vendettish. So I would say like Glenn Helen, I think, and in Vegas, like I said, him and I had a absolute blast together. I mean, we battled clean the whole way through. So he's probably one of my favorites actually to race with. To chase somebody down, like I said, it's always either my two teammates or Casper type deal. But like I said, they're kind of depends. So yeah, it's kind of where I'm at with that one, I guess.
And then you were P4 last season in Nitrocross overall, kind of you secured that one pretty nicely for yourself. How would you describe the season though from your perspective? Were you happy with your result? Are you because I'm trying to see how much you're kind of taking that element of you're there for that pure enjoyment aspect of it and that's still carried through, but then like you say, you have that team around you that shows you're taking it more seriously. So is this something where you're like, next season I want to get in that top three, or are you just very much as long as I'm having a good time, I don't really mind where I end up at the end of it?
I like to say that's where I keep my mind is like, I don't care, as long as I'm out there having fun, but
But
there's always that competition aspect of it. As far as the season goes, I mean, I was happy with it. I, I don't want to say I'm like the anomaly with it, but I guess I always battle with, um, like I said, my two teammates being out there. How competitive can I be if they're ahead of me in points by a lot and they're chasing a championship? By all rights, I don't want to be the one to take them out. Like that's So there's that. Like I said, there's a self preservation mode. Like I won't, at my age, I probably won't turn off that 10% anymore, or
mhm.
or take that extra 10% of risk on. And then same with the car. Like that's on my end. I'm kind of a privateer in it, so you know, if there's a difference of wrecking $10,000 worth of parts to go from fourth to second, I'm cool with fourth. So, so there's a, I guess one of my holdups is being a team owner, a car owner, a driver, is tough. It's very tough to balance that because I want to just drive. I just want to concentrate on driving, but also at the time I have to concentrate on is the team good? Did the crew get the car back together? If they have an accident or something prior to going out on the grid, I got to, my head's always turning that they need assistance first, and I'm just there for, I'm there for a good time. so, um, so that has been probably a challenge for me, pretty much, even with Can-Am racing, because I had a teammate as well that I was always worried about their stuff, just from being a team owner. So
Right.
that's very tough. I mean, it's some people can do it and just they get in the car and they shut it off. Where I'm at the line and I'm radioing into my spotter like, hey, is Jimmy's car good? I see Lane doesn't have his light on, turn it on. He's like, dude, like concentrate on what you're doing. I'm like, I know, I'm trying, and then the flag drops and it's let's go have fun. So, so yeah, I mean, obviously, do I wish I do or wish better results? Yes, but at the same point, I think, well, you said I ended up fourth for the season. I didn't have much carnage as far as accidents and parts on my side. Um, the team did very well. We went 2, 3, and 4 as a team. So, and they were, not many points apart from the championship. We started off kind of rough. Oklahoma beat us up a little bit, but we ended up well. We went first, second, third both days there, just due to trying to survive the track. So, that was fun. So it started off really well, and then it kind of, just all the races kind of combined. But so yeah, I mean, like I said, win, lose, or draw, I have just as much fun on that track and with the series as a whole, and the camaraderie of everybody in the team, and building the sport and building that class in our team. Whether I get first or whether I get, I don't want to say last because last stinks, but and I tell everybody too, back at home, people that don't really understand it a lot. I said in rallycross, it's not. I didn't lose by a lap. You're off maybe a second. It's the track's. Say it's a 50-second lap, and you're off by a second. It's technically you're not really going much slower. You're just a little bit more out of control where you should be in control. So it's not like you're getting lapped. You're not in that that thing. No. By the end of the race, if you have 8 laps, you're 8 seconds behind. So it's not crazy. So, you're having just as much fun. You just haven't perfected all of it yet. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just like, well, I'll fix this corner and mess the next one up. And the next time I fix that corner, so,
yeah,
it's a constant game. By final on Sunday, I got it down. It's just getting to the final on Sunday. So as long as I make all the grids and all the races and all the laps, to me, that's a win. I didn't go home in a, I don't want to go home in a cast anymore. I don't want to have to call from the ER. I'm like, hey, I need picked up, so those are all wins to me that, and to support the team and make sure that those guys have like the best equipment, the best support is a win. So, that's kind of what I try to keep in my mind. But once again, when the send it sign comes on, let's go. That all goes out the window. Well, we don't have windows, but it goes somewhere.
Do you have any more racing ambitions, or do you think over your career and like the span of competing, you've kind of checked what you wanted off your lists?
I don't think I'll ever finish that list, but I did definitely check off a lot of good ones. I mean, we raced Ball Hall 1000 with Can-Am, and it was, experience of a lifetime. Nitrocross, rallycross in general was always my goal. That's always what I wanted to do. So that was my biggest check mark. And there's some, don't get me wrong, there's some bucket list racing venues that I want to go to. Some are overseas. Eventually I'll hopefully make it over there. There's still some big races that I don't know if I'll ever get the opportunity to do. But put it this way, if I had to hang it up today, I guess I probably could say I've done what I needed to do, but I don't think I will. I mean, I think my kids want to race, and I kind of want to be able to. I still want to be able to be active, involved in it. Maybe not competing for a championship because I think those days are like we just discussed. Like I'm okay with fourth, I'm okay with third, I'm okay with second. If you're competing for a championship, you're never okay with that. I don't want to get back to that point of I come in mad because I got third, or come in mad because I got second. So I don't think I'll ever quit competing that way. I just would rather do it on my terms. And stick with. I mean, I'll stick with Nitrocross till hopefully there's no end, but till whenever I can't do it anymore. Hopefully bring somebody else into the sport, to take my seat. Um, just continue to evolve with it, learn with it, grow with the new car base. And obviously, I'm always all ears for all the weird opportunities out there. I mean, that's somebody say, "Hey, you want to go race this?" I'm like, "Yeah, cool. If I can afford it, if I can find time to do it, uh, from life in general and work and everything else, yeah, absolutely. I, I don't till my body says I can't do it at all anymore. I'm in. Let's do
Definitely a classic racing driver mentality there.
it."
Could you then describe Nitrocross for us in 3 words?
3 words. Wow.
Always get them.
Okay. Nitrocross would be a festival with racing.
Okay. That's a
Nice.
nice one. We've not. It's
That's
nice to get a
fun.
new one because you kind of get some crossovers some of the time, and then someone comes along every once in a while with something completely different. Like that's good.
Yeah, yeah, festival with racing or party with racing, whatever it might be. But yeah, it's cool. It's very unique. I mean, you guys, like I said, you guys are into it. You get it. It's unique. It's super awesome too.
I like that. Also, you kind of gave it its own complete 3 words, not like random 3 words. And we haven't
Hmm.
actually, I don't think we
I
tend
don't
to
think
get
we
that
have we?
to get, no. So I
Yeah,
like that.
people just describe it in 3 words. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, that
Put
was
it together.
perfect. I like that. And then my favorite question to ask, because I come from a rallying background, if you could do any rally in the world and pick any car from history, it doesn't have to be now, it can be as far back as you want to go. What would you pick?
Oh, like rally cross race or like stage rally, the whole.
Stage rallying, because that I'm always curious. A lot of people go down the WRC route. I will throw this out there. It's usually the people who are at the top of their game, and obviously that's what they think about. But we have had some really fun like Group B answers, and so if you could pick
Yeah, I mean, I'd
any,
have to, like my brain's going straight towards Group B for some reason. I don't know. It's just kind of where it's stuck at. Um, I mean, I'd say car wise, it had to be somewhere along like the Audi line, I guess, in the Group B segment, just because that's where my brain's at. As far as what stages or what venue, I guess, what rally, that's a good one. I don't know. I mean, they all have. I mean, that's the beauty of stage rally, and that right. They're all so unique that.
I'd rule Finland out for you with the jumps.
Well, they're minor there. They're like those I could take, I think, especially like.
Oh,
I mean, well, I say minor.
Finland's wild.
That's true. It's wild.
Yeah, even I've looked at Finland and gone, do I or do I not? Like, I haven't ever had the chance, but there was always points in time and I was like, can my back take that?
Yeah, that's the thing. But my mind originally went towards Finland because it's kind of like the extreme part of it. It's not just it's not just I don't know. Like that's a tough one because I'm stuck on like two different I'm stuck with a Group B kind of car answer, but then my brain's going back to like a rally crossing. I'm thinking like Holius in my head because it's just iconic to me and it's something I want to do. We can't combine the two, so I don't know. I don't know. I must
You
come back to
can
that.
combine the two because some of the rallies have super special stages at rallycross tracks, so you can combine the two.
That's what I'm
Like,
interested in. Let's go with that
there
one.
you go. Cool. I
Line
like
that
that.
one up, and that'll be on my bucket list. Let's do
So
that.
I can't think of a better
Yeah,
place to end that one. To be honest, it kind of combined the perfect venue from modern day to the historical there. So yeah, got to figure out a way to make that happen now. Got to find a sponsor out there who's willing to help you with that one.
yeah. Just put it out there. I mean, I'm available.
Oh, well, perfect place to end it. I want to thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us today, Eric, and all the details where people can find you, the team, and all the rest of the people, including Nabila and I, will be in the description of this episode. So do go and check all of us out, and we're looking forward to seeing you back racing next season as well with the rest of the team because that's just going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, just thanks for being here today.
All right, thanks for having me. This was awesome. It was good to chat, to get it out there, and hopefully you guys grow what you're doing, and hopefully Nitro is growing, and we're good.
Yep. And we will thank you all very much for listening, and we'll be back soon.